right, we will call the, geez, I have to remember what day it is, the April 12th meeting of the Parker Planning Commission to order at 7:03. Would you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Absent is Dwayne. Seated for Dwayne is Eric. Absent is Rich. Seated for Rich is Kim. And seated for our open seat is Ruth Ann. All right. Are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Are there any additions to or corrections to the Planning Commission meeting minutes from March 22nd, 2018?
No, sir.
No.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve March 22nd, 2018 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by John, seconded by Ruth Ann, that we approve the Planning Commission minutes from March 22nd, 2018. Signal your approval by yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes. Abstain.
Okay. Before we begin, I would like to make an announcement for our members in the audience and those on Facebook Live. We, as sitting members of the Planning Commission, take the roles and responsibilities and duties of our work seriously when we review site plans, zonings, and other land use requests during a public hearing. We encourage and appreciate public participation as part of the public hearing process. The public hearing is where we listen to comments, concerns, technical analysis, and other information provided by town staff, landowners, and the public. Now we will move to item 7. Oh, no, 7. It's the Harvey property matter, Planning Commissioners, that's to be continued to a date certain of April 26, 2018. Could we have a motion to that effect?
I move the Planning Commission continue the Harving property zoning to April 26, 2018.
I second.
It's been moved by John, seconded by Ileana, that we move the Harvey property zoning to April 26, 2018. Signal your approval by yes.
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 Next, 7B. This is the Grasslands Prairie Trail zoning. We will open the public hearing at 7:06. Any commissioners that need to disclose conflicts of interest or other contact related to the project?
No.
I think, as we had before, I need to disclose that my wife works in the same office space as the Woodspear Group that owns one of these properties. She does not work on the Woodspear thing. She works for a different group, but just unless that's a problem.
No problem.
No.
Okay. All right. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider new zoning for property located in Douglas County. The new zoning is PD, Planned Development, and the specific request is for a consideration of the Grasslands Prairie Trail PD, which is associated with an annexation application. The order of business for tonight's hearing was modified by resolution number 2.259, which was approved by Town Council on April 2nd, 2018. Based on resolution number 2.259, the order of business will be as follows. The presentation by town staff will include an overview of the zoning request, including 1, the details of the project, 2, the 9 criteria contained in town code that must be considered by the Planning Commission in its review of the zoning request, and 3, a recommendation based on analysis conducted by staff. Upon completion of the town staff presentation, the applicants will make a presentation regarding the application, which will be collectively limited to 30 minutes. Additionally, for the reason that the applications include 3 lots that are not owned by the applicants, these lot owners will be allowed to make a presentation, which will be collectively limited to 30 minutes. Upon completion of the property owner presentation, the public testimony portion of this hearing will begin. Each member of the public will be allowed 3 minutes to make a presentation. Time cannot be traded or accumulated between individuals. The town staff will control the timer. There are several members of the public that desire to testify tonight, so please be clear and concise with your comments, and please do not repeat the testimony provided by other members of the public. You can certainly indicate that you agree with the other speakers without restating their entire testimony. As a reminder, I hope that you filled out the public comment card that was provided to you when you entered council chambers. If not, there are comment cards in the back of the room which you can fill out and hold on till you're ready to speak. What we will do is, by sections of the chamber, we will call people over here to this side to line up to be ready to speak. Once your section or group is called, if you desire to speak, please bring, and some of you already turned in your speaker's card, but either if you've already turned it in, that's fine, or if not, bring it up to the podium when you come up. And then just leave your card with staff and proceed to the podium. I understand that many members of the audience may have differing opinions about the application. However, I ask that you respect the statements that are made by town staff, the applicant, property owners, members of the public, and my fellow planning commissioners. It is important this public hearing be held in a dignified and respectful manner. To this end, there should only be one speaker at a time with no audience participation or reaction. Please do not clap, yell, boo, or make additional commentary from the audience, or otherwise interrupt the proceeding. Please note that any questions from the public to the Planning Commission staff or the applicant will not be addressed during public testimony. The town staff or the applicant will address the questions that are relevant to the zoning request after the public testimony portion of the hearing is closed. Please know that staff has provided a copy of all email correspondence sent by the public, and they are included in our staff report packet that we have reviewed. These emails are part of the public record. I will close the public hearing after the final comments are made by town staff. I will then open the debate and the discussion of the evidence that pertains to the zoning request among the Planning Commission members until there is a call for a motion or decision. Now we will turn it over to Stacy and Paul.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of Planning Commission. Again, the case this evening is case Z18-009. It's a request for the grasslands/prairie trail plan development zoning. Please note that the application in the town's tracket file indicates that the hearing was adequately noticed for this evening. The subject property this evening is generally located west of Prairie Trail Drive. It is located south of the Arapahoe County Douglas County border. West is Upland Drive, and then to the south is Com Park. Those lots that are highlighted and contained within the green box there are those properties that are subject for the zoning this evening. The property is currently zoned Com Park development in Douglas County, which allows for a variety of uses, including some general industrial uses. Subject property itself is roughly 45 acres in size. The applicants, including the Community Development Department, have submitted this zoning application in connection with a request for annexation that was submitted on February 22nd of this year for the subject properties. The town's municipal code requires that a zoning application be submitted at the time of annexation, which is what brings us here this evening. Planning Commission does not hear nor take action on the associated annexation application. Therefore, Planning Commission's role is strictly limited to the review of the zoning request this evening. The applicants are requesting that the subject property be zoned with a Town of Parker Plan Development designation to allow for the same uses that are allowed in the Com Park development, excluding the general industrial uses and certain light industrial uses. This image on the screen before you shows the town's master plan for the area up to the town's urban growth area. The town has contemplated the annexation and ultimate incorporation of this area of unincorporated Douglas County into the Town of Parker since 2002. The town and Douglas County formalized this understanding in 2002 with an intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, establishing the comprehensive development plan and the town's growth boundary in this area. This agreement is important because it provides predictability for the county, the town and property owners as to land use control and future development. More particularly, the zoning request is part of the natural and well-ordered development of the town of Parker as a part of the comprehensive development plan that was part of the IGA that was approved more than 15 years ago. Again, the colors on the image before you represent different master plan designations throughout the town. The master plan designation represents a desired land use pattern to help ensure a compatibility of uses. Specifically, the subject property is highlighted with the black box. The blue that surrounds the subject property and includes the subject property is designated for employment uses within the town's master plan. The pink area along the 470 corridor is called out for mixed uses that generally accommodate commercial and some residential uses. And the yellow is identified for residential, for medium density residential uses, which generally accommodates single family residential development. As contemplated by the comprehensive development plan and the town's master plan, the town has annexed and zoned several properties in this area of town and given them town zoning designations. This image shows the property that has been annexed and zoned by the town up to the town's growth boundary. Again, the growth boundary on this slide is the red at the top and the side and the bottom. The purple area are those areas that have been annexed and zoned for employment or commercial or light industrial or uses that are generally non-residential in nature. The red area is property that is zoned for mixed use, and the yellow area is property that is zoned for residential uses. The requested development, plan development is consistent with the existing approved land uses in this area of town for employment as designated by the town's master plan. The plan development itself is structured so that all 7 lots are included in one planning area. And furthermore, the plan development states that the intent of this plan development is to allow for land use flexibility and versatility that are expected to attract regional distribution warehouses, research and development carriers, regional community businesses and services, and supporting facilities. All of the existing uses and approved uses within the subject property this evening are currently allowed by the proposed plan development. And in an effort to continue the order and the natural and well-ordered development of the town of Parker as part of that comprehensive development plan that was approved more than 15 years ago, the plan development matches the Park plan development currently enforceable in unincorporated Douglas County, minus or excluding those uses that are inconsistent with the town's master plan for the area and the existing light industrial and educational uses in the area. The uses that the applicants are requesting be removed are detailed on the slide in the bottom part of the slide that are highlighted. As was referenced by the chair, there are 9 approval criteria for zonings here in the town of Parker. All 9 of those criteria were provided an analysis in detail as part of the staff report this evening. Staff won't go through each one of those 9 approval criteria, however, they are detailed in that staff report. Instead, there's 3 that will be highlighted as part of the presentation this evening for brevity. The first approval criteria to be highlighted is that there is a need that exists for the proposal. There are a number of needs for the requested zoning. However, to summarize, as opposed to reading word for word, essentially the need is that it expands the economic base of the town by creating job opportunities in the E470 corridor. It provides an orderly transition for these employment type uses from the 470 corridor as well as the existing residential uses. The second criteria to be highlighted is that the subject property has been identified again as the correct site for certain employment uses for several years. Beginning in 2002, the town of Douglas County agreed that this area would be property that the town desired to annex and zone. 2003, the subject property was included in the town's existing urban growth area, which is the area of property that the town has the potential to annex and develop over the course of time. In short, the subject property has been identified for many years as property to be annexed, zoned, and developed in the town for employment uses. Therefore, the subject property is the correct site for the development described in the proposed plan development. And the third criteria to be highlighted this evening is that there's been significant change in the area to warrant a zone change. Over the course of the last 20 years, this area has developed with employment, commercial, educational, and residential uses. The requested zoning will retain most of the development standards and uses that are permitted in the Douglas County Plan Development, but will exclude those uses that conflict with the Comprehensive Development Plan, the Parker 2035 Master Plan, and those uses that have developed over the last 20 years. In short, based on the development located in and around the subject property over the last 20 years, as well as the reference guiding documents, there have been changes in the area to warrant the new zoning. Based on the information contained in this presentation and the information contained in staff's report, town staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend that Town Council approve the Grasslands Prairie Trail development plan and guide to allow for this zoning request to continue the natural and well-ordered development of the town of Parker as part of the comprehensive development plan that was approved more than 15 years ago. And prior to opening for questions of staff, staff would like to read a letter that was provided by the Centennial Airport for the benefit of Planning Commission. The letter is dated April 12th, and it states, "Dear Ms. Kivla, Mayor, and Town Council, and members of the Planning Commission, the purpose of this letter is to provide comments to the Town of Parker regarding the proposed annexation and zoning of the property known as the Grasslands Prairie Trail property, quote, the property. On behalf of the Arapahoe County Public Airport Authority, quote, Airport Authority, owner and operator of Centennial Airport. It is our understanding that the property includes the area proposed as the Vista South LLC Waste Transfer Facility, quote, waste transfer facility, a use proposed in Douglas County. The authority has previously responded on August 24th of 2017 and December 19th of 2017 to the Douglas County Department of Community Development regarding the concerns of the authority related to the proposed waste transfer facility. As one of the busiest airports in the U.S., a waste transfer facility near the airport is a serious threat to the safety and welfare of pilots, crew, and passengers arriving and departing Centennial Airport. The Federal Aviation Administration, quote, FAA, is deeply concerned about waste facilities becoming a wildlife attractant and in particular birds. Based on the concerns we have previously expressed to Douglas County about the proposed use, the authority unequivocally supports annexation of the property into the town of Parker and the zoning of the property to prohibit the waste transfer facility within the restricted development area of the Centennial Airport. The development of the property to include a waste transfer facility is incompatible because of its proximity to the Centennial Airport, and the proposed waste transfer facility specifically appears to be within 3,900 feet of the nearest end of the crosswind runway. While the authority understands that the site plan submitted to Douglas County identifies the waste transfer facility as a, quote, indoor facility, the mere fact that trucks must enter and exit the waste transfer facility means that the facility will not permanently be, quote, sealed, and thus will attract birds and other wildlife regardless of whether it is characterized as indoor. As stated, waste facilities of any kind are incompatible with the airport. The hazards created by such facilities, even if mitigated, create unacceptable risk to aircraft arriving and departing the Centennial Airport. Accordingly, the authority supports the annexation and zoning of the property into the town of Parker as a means of preventing the incompatible waste transfer facility from developing in an area that will be hazardous to aircraft arriving and departing the Centennial Airport and therefore the surrounding area. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on the proposed annexation and zoning of the property into the town of Parker. Respectfully yours, Robert Oleslager. That's the text of the letter. So with that, that would conclude staff's portion of the presentation. However, certainly we're available for any questions you all may have.
Questions for staff?
No.
I just had one quick question. The zoning that is, that surrounds, the employment zoning that surrounds, is that pretty much reflective of the same uses that are listed in the current proposed development plan?
So I'm going to make sure that we bring up, I believe, the map that you were referring to, which was
Yes,
this particular map here.
that's the one, yes.
Yeah, the blue area is a land use designation found within the town's master plan for employment. That is a indication of what the town has planned for that area. The uses that are currently located within the subject property are consistent with that designation, and the planned development would allow for the existing uses as well as uses that are consistent with that employment designation.
Can you go to the next map? The purple, where we have the employment, commercial, light industrial,
Yes.
non-residential, that's already been zoned.
Yes, ma'am, that's
My
correct.
question is, does that zoning pretty much match up with what is proposed in the development plan here, or how does it differ?
The
They're going to
zone-
be adjoining areas, that's why I ask.
The zoning of the areas that are indicated in purple are consistent with the proposed zoning this evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions for Paul?
No, sir.
Paul, are the applicants going to make a presentation?
Helps if I have the mic on. Yes, Mr. Chair, there are applicants that are prepared to give a brief presentation.
Does one of the applicants want to step forward? Who's going first?
Charter, you guys are up.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Jay Rolls, and you want my home address or our property address? Property address is 14810 Grasslands Drive.
Okay, thank you.
So my name's Jay Rolls. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Charter, and just want to make some brief comments about we're one of the commercial residences inside the proposed annex that was shown earlier. A couple facts are shown here on the slide. You may not know Charter, but we're a very large company, 93,000 employees. We're a Fortune 100 company, and we have businesses. We're in 41 states, so we're pretty large in the U.S. We have 4 corporate locations, and Denver is one of them. And we also serve customers in the state of Colorado. We tend to be on the western side of the state, so you don't see our name around too much around the Denver area. So, next slide. So, this building that we're in here on Grasslands Drive we call it CTEC. It's the Charter Technology and Engineering Center. This was a lab that we built in 2014, and at that point, we had a bunch of labs nationwide that were in different states of disarray, frankly, and we knew we needed to consolidate them. And we looked nationwide at all of our locations. We had labs in Tampa, in DC, in St. Louis, and in Denver. And we ultimately decided to build this lab and consolidate all our labs in one location. And as you can see, we have a total of about 500 people, 400 employees, and 150 contractors in this lab. And I would say 80 to 90% of them are degree engineers working inside this facility. So if you want to, I think we have some pictures here. So this is not a warehouse. This is a absolutely stunning, state-of-the-art laboratory. When I first walked my son in there, he said, "Oh my God, this is like Google without the benefits." So we are very proud of doing all of our company's nationwide engineering activities in here, and it's very unique to the company, but it's really unique in the nation. When we have other telecom operators come and tour, they're really quite impressed with what we've grown here. And so, in no small measure, as you know, the governor of Colorado and municipalities and districts have been trying to attract high-tech talent with a lot of energy, a lot of publicity, and frankly, even incentives. And all of that helped lead to our decision to build this building and bring all of our employees there. So I would like to say that even though it's a commercial area, because I work there every day, it's a pretty quiet area, actually. It's even a little sleepy. And when I looked at the stats, I'm not going to read from the slide, but when I looked at the stats of the proposed trash facility across the street, I was pretty alarmed by, and I can't even fathom 1,600 vehicles going in and out of across the street from our facility. And so quite alarming from that aspect, but to me it was alarming and for many other aspects. We run a lot of sensitive equipment there. We've looked at some of this technically, and we're uneasy. We haven't found any evidence that vibration and from traffic, that's the one thing we are worried about, might affect our equipment, but we are very concerned because we have a lot of high-tech equipment in this facility. In particular, we have a lot of fiber optics equipment. And this fiber optic equipment runs and connects on fibers that are 9 microns wide, and just for perspective, a human hair is 75 microns. And we run over those fibers 126 different colors of light. So these are the kind of equipment that connects cities together. And so we're nervous about that from that aspect. And if you go to the next slide, well, let's see, go back one slide, I guess. I guess the other point that I would make is that if we are to discover problems later on that might be caused by environmental issues, at that point it would be too late. So you can imagine why we're being very cautious about this. This is also a facility that we don't all come there, park, and go inside. We actually have an outdoor component of the facility. So from a trash facility standpoint, I would be very concerned about particularly odors that would cause. Not only do we run a lot of events like when the solar eclipse happened or things like that, but we have garage doors that open up to our common room, and we have, since it's a little bit of a food desert there, we have food trucks that come every day to our building, and so our employees are always outside getting food. So, and that's shown in the upper left-hand photo here. This staff that I have and they all work for me at this building are. They're hard to find people, and it's a very competitive job market. And so, as an example, I recently have lost employees to go move to Intel and move to Amazon. I'm also pleased to say that I've been able to recruit 3 Google employees from the Bay Area to come live in Colorado. And amenities for these engineers, as very much shown by my son's comment, are important to these employees. And so the environment that we work in, the environment that we live in there from a work perspective is very important to us. And so that's why Charter has so much concern about what's going on around the neighborhood. So briefly, since we had the letter from the airport, I'm not really going to go in. I will say that I'm a pilot, and other than my engine conking out, birds is like one of the top 3 concerns you have as a small airplane pilot. A small bird at the speeds that these aircraft move will absolutely take out the entire windshield. And it's probably not going to cause an airplane to spin out of the sky, but you can imagine a pilot at 140, 150 miles an hour losing the windshield. That could be a pretty devastating. And this, I tell you, if you go look at the map, this whole area, we are constantly overflown by these aircraft. We are right on the approach. So
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we wrap up your comments so we stay on schedule?
I think
Thank you.
there's only one more slide, and it's more on the aircraft. So that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Lestico. I'm owner-manager of M&P Enterprises, who owns the building at 8480 Upland Drive, and I'd like to go to work for Charter Communications. It's a nice place. So I just want to tell you a little bit about our property. We My wife and I and our family purchased the property in 2005. We're at the southwest corner of Grasslands and Upland Drive. We have a building that is 64,800 square feet, and really this is our major family investment. We have a lot of love in this building. We have 3 tenants: Closet Factory, Front Range Volleyball Club, and Viasat Inc. Closet Factory is actually owned by my wife and I, Polly. We've been running the business since 1992, so 26 years now. And so we're basically in half the building. We design, manufacture, and install custom storage solutions for basically homeowners and builders. And we like to say we turn chaos into order. We occupy half the building. We employ 75 people. That includes installers, staff, office staff, designers, factory and installation personnel. And we operate the business 6 days a week, including Saturday. And my wife and I are generally there on Sundays. So we run 11 installation crews 6 days a week. And the crews generally leave in the morning and then come back about 4 to 6 at night. We have a state-of-the-art showroom where we display closet systems and home offices, libraries, etc. And we have a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility. The interesting thing is we have a lot of customers that come in to view the showroom, to really make selections, look at the plans that our designers come up with. So we have a fair amount of people coming in every week, anywhere from 50 to 60 people per week. These are customers from basically all over Denver. The neighbor to our north is Front Range Volleyball Club. It's a nationally recognized volleyball club. They have their teams travel all over the country. They're highly regarded. They play at very high levels. This group trains young men and women on site from 11 to 18 years old. They generally practice what I'd call after hours, evenings, weekends, at our facility. And many of the athletes are high school students who drive themselves to and from practice. And I can attest that they're there late at night, and in the wintertime they're driving to and from in the dark. Our third tenant is Viasat. They're a satellite provider, and they're actually moving out in May, so I won't spend any time on that. But so we approached the trash transfer facility and would really like to be annexed by the city, because we've, again, owned the building since 2005 and have seen the area really kind of progress. There was hardly anybody out there when we bought, and it's now turning into a very, I feel, wonderful place to work. The buildings are pretty, there is light traffic, except at rush hours. So it just seems to be generally just a great place to work for our employees and our tenants. We want some consistency in what's going on, and so we're really would love to be annexed. Well, that's okay. And we really would like to have protections for our investment, for our company Closet Factory, and for the tenants that we bring in. Now, I read a report that showed 2,500 new trips per day, the Kimley Horn Traffic Impact Study. That's 104 per hour. And what concerns me is that amount of traffic, and these are, a lot of them are large trucks, I believe, being kind of a safety hazard. And especially, again, we have students that come and train in the volleyball facility that do drive, and a lot of times it's at night. So that's a concerning thing for me, and Front Range Volleyball has a long-term lease with us. I don't use the word smell lightly, but even though it's a state-of-the-art facility, we feel that there will be odors there. And the day that I mentioned what was going on, the proposal to my office manager, she said, "Have you ever driven by Jordan on Arapahoe Station when the wind was blowing in the wrong direction? It doesn't smell very good." So we're concerned about that. And we're wondering and fearful about the value of our building if this facility were to come in. And again, the other uses that trying to eliminate one as a correctional facility. That, again, for our young people in Front Range Volleyball, that concerns me as well. And really, we feel we need zoning consistent with how the whole area is being built out, because we've been very impressed with who's coming in, medical facility, a school, charter communications, just, really good, sound businesses, and I just feel this is gonna basically tarnish that. So I believe that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name's Zach Kessler. The address of our property is 8591, 8595, and 8599 Prairie Trail Drive. And it's the Prairie Trail Business Park. Next slide. I represent Woodspear Properties. We're the controlling investor. This is an investment property for us. We own industrial buildings and apartments in 4 markets in the U.S. We're based out of the tech center. We're privately held, owner-operator. So this facility consists of, next slide, please. We're on the southern edge of the area proposed to be annexed and zoned. And we acquired this property in 2015. It was constructed in 2001. It's a high-image flex office, light industrial facility geared around serving smaller tenants as an employment base. I'm not going to read everything, so next slide. So we actually have 13 tenants with 150 to 200 employees across the 83,000 square feet that we have there. These uses and businesses there all represent a variety of service-based businesses. We have high-tech, light manufacturing, we have suppliers, we have contractors in terms of this is their office space, not their contractor space, and we have construction services and other consulting engineering type groups. We wanted to be part of this rezoning because we bought this property as an investment, and we want to continue. We invest in areas where we think that there's employment base, that there's a fair amount of really office. This isn't where we don't invest in heavy industrial, and we think this rezoning accomplishes exactly that. The trash transfer facility, we believe, as do our tenants, will negatively impact their businesses, which to us means it negatively impacts our investment, and it negatively impacts our ability to attract and retain tenants. These tenants want to be able to point to a high image area that they, that they can bring their clients to, and that's easy to get into and out of, and frankly doesn't smell bad. So the added traffic of this adjacent development that's going to have to funnel onto Prairie Trail Drive because Grasslands just can't handle it is going to make it more difficult for our tenants to operate their businesses, and they believe their businesses will suffer. Next slide. We believe that since we're in the town's boundary and the growth area, and that this proposed zoning fits with what our investment thesis was in acquiring this property in 2015, and it's strongly supported by our tenants, that it meets the criteria and kind of checks the box for us in terms of whether we want to be part of a municipality that wants us and likes what our tenants bring to the town, which is jobs and good paying jobs, and supports local small businesses. Next slide. That's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Kessler? Mr. Kessler? Yes. Did you have letters from your tenants to submit for the record?
Oh, sorry. Yes, we do. Thank you for reminding me. I would have forgot that. We have, I believe, 5 letters of support from our tenants. Do I need to read these? And so I'll leave these here. These include Answer Engineering, B&B Pharmaceuticals, MTN Inc. Environmental Services, and SFI Compliance, and TriStar Drywall.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the commission. I'm Kent Carver. I'm an attorney with Holland and Hart and represent Abmar Grasslands LLC, the owner of 14445 Grasslands Drive. Abmar Grasslands is a family-owned real estate investment partnership that owns properties. It's an extended family. They own properties in Colorado and throughout the country. None of the family members are employed by the business itself. It's passive investment, locally managed, and in this case has been leased to the Baxter Corporation. First slide, please, who has been a tenant succeeding Baxa Corporation, who they acquired in 2011. And this facility has been used for the production of systems for measuring and administering fluid medications for patients. And it is somewhat unique in that it's got a very large clean room assembly area. And the ideal replacement tenant and the parties who have expressed interest in coming into the facility are medical device manufacturers, biotech companies, drug development companies, which, as you all might imagine, tend to be higher paying professional grade positions. I think it's interesting, just as an aside, to hear the cross-section of building ownership in this area. It really is, if you could go out and annex an area and attract this group of businesses into your community, I think everyone would agree that would be a very nice thing to do. And if we were also to look at very basic issues. If we were to throw in a waste transfer facility, we could ask which one of these is not like any of the others. And in this case, my client's property is, I think, the closest adjacent to the proposed facility. And there is something disconcerting about a facility with a clean room and where hygiene and cleanliness are sacrosanct, being next to a waste transfer facility. That's a little bit of a contrast. Knowing that we are here tonight to consider a prospective rezoning, the proposed zoning classifications are obviously satisfactory to my client, and we believe consistent with what is already in the area, which, of course, for consistency's sake for the community is tantamount, as the list that was read earlier would indicate. Having an intensely, what I believe is a noxious industrial use will directly affect who my client is able to attract as a replacement tenant to Baxter. Next slide, please. And that will obviously have an effect on the community. This is, I won't say it's a state of the art because it will take some upgrading, but again, the people that are looking at this facility are looking at it for purposes that are consistent with its current configuration. And there is no question, this isn't speculation, that if the waste transfer facility goes in, not only will that be disclosed, but it will have an immediate negative effect on who goes into this facility. That's just common sense. So the applicants, I know for Vista South, have consistently held that this is a state-of-the-art facility, and I certainly don't doubt that it's state-of-the-art, but trash is trash, and people would love to tell you that their trash doesn't stink, but I think we all know different. Finally, on the issue of the aviation concerns, the manager of the LLC that owns my property, or the property I'm representing, is actually a very high-ranking commercial airline pilot in one of the largest airlines. And the first thing he said when I mentioned that this proposed use was being suggested for the adjacent parcel was, well, you don't want to do that. There's a significant bird strike issue. You're 3,500, 3,600 feet away from Centennial. These types of facilities, it's well known, attract all sorts of birds that then are flight hazards. So that's not speculation, and I would suggest the town look at that issue even more closely, because I think that will continue to be a very serious concern. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there further, Stacy? Okay. Any questions based on the applicant's presentation?
No.
Okay. Thank you to the applicants. The one section of the property that is also gets the Vista South LLC, are they going to make a presentation?
No, sir, they are not.
Okay. All right. Then we will move to, do we have any further questions for staff?
No, sir.
No, not this time.
Okay. Then we will open the discussion to public comment. Once again, please try to be clear and concise in your comments. I know there are quite a few people that wish to speak, but it's okay to say that you agree with the comments that have been made. Just give your name and address for the record, and then, because we listen to the comments that the public makes. And so why don't we start with this section over here. If you have a comment to make, please come around here by the police officer and down to the front if you wish to make a comment.
We'll see how good I am at this. Push this, push that, push that.
Okay, you're the first speaker, sir. Come ahead up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. And you can just give that card to Paul right there on the corner.
Awesome. My name is Mark Marrier. I live at 8489 Canyon Rim Circle, Unit 310, Inglewood, Colorado. I've been living there since about 2006 when we moved in. I work not far from there. I actually work at the Viasat headquarters. That's not too far, but basically I have to drive down Compark every day and then take the loop around Liberty Media to get to my office. The increased traffic would be a huge burden. I don't know if you've ever have been behind a trash truck and had it start cold and watched it get up to speed. They're extremely slow, cumbersome on the road. Additionally, I could probably walk to where the trash transfer facility is being proposed in about 4 minutes. So that thing's going to be pretty inundating in my lifestyle and all our community that surround it. So I would just offer, would you be cool with something like that in your neighborhood? I agree with all the comments that all these fine folks have come and made this business case for, so I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I put my request here in it.
Okay, good.
I'm David Metzler. I live at 15870 Duckweed Court. That is directly south of this area. I've lived there since 2003. Invested in our homes, and we keep investing in them, keeping them up. We're concerned about the zoning of this area that would include a trash transfer place because of the traffic, number one. We have two ways out of my area. One is onto Chambers, the other is in Jordan. And I know the Chambers will be eaten up by that number of trash trucks going through there. And trash trucks are not the safest vehicle to drive around or by. And I drove for a living, so I do know how bad they are. So I am for this zoning change and support it 100% because there's a lot of neighborhoods there across the street, and there's a lot of people that live there, a lot of young kids, and their health and their well-being and their peace of mind is important. And I don't want airplanes flying over my house getting hit by birds. That's it.
Thanks, sir. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Sue Dorman, and I live at 15900 Duckweed Court. And basically, I agree with everything everybody said so far, and we really don't need this, so I would like to see it annexed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker.
I'm Rick Dorman, live at 15900 Duckweed Court, and I agree with everything that's been said so far. Mainly the traffic on Chambers is horrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is student Dr. Cameron Olson, excuse me, and I live at 8467 Canyon Rim Circle, number 203, which is directly southeast, I believe, of Rocky Vista University, as well as the proposed trash transfer facility. And I just wanted to agree with what has already been said so far. One of these is not like the other, and that seems pretty obvious to me. We purchased our home 2 years ago. I'm a second-year student at Rocky Vista University because we love the area, how nice and quiet and peaceful it was, immediately adjoining to the trail behind our complex. And that was one of the main draws for us, was the feel. And I think that that's very important in an area, is how an area feels when you approach the area. And I think it's obvious when people enter an area if the feel is odd or different or not uniform. We purchased this place as a great place to live, as well as an investment property and a great place for potentially other students or other people to use after we had moved along in our medical education. I have noticed recently, although I know it was addressed, that additional traffic is already building up in our complex for pickup for the Parker Performing Arts School. I know that this was addressed and many steps have been taken, but even so now, there are cars taking our street parking places an hour and a half before school is even over, in order to be ready for when their kids are done. So I definitely know that traffic is already an issue, even though many steps have been taken to address this issue. Because our house is directly on the approach trail to the formerly Spokane Airport, I am very concerned because when we first moved here, we couldn't sleep. That's how close the airplanes and helicopters are as they pass over our home. I grew up with that. In almost the exact same situation, and it's still, when I got here, I could hardly sleep because of how close they are. It's okay now, I got used to it, but the airplanes are always over our home, and it's in the direct path of the approach of this runway. So I support what has been said already, and I support the annexation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Jill Pitcher, short. I live at 45795 Coal Creek Drive, and I'm a osteopathic family physician and an associate professor over at Rocky Vista teaching primary care medicine. And I live just east of here. When I moved out, I was teased by family and friends who live in Aurora and Denver about how they had to pack a lunch to come visit me. And that was in 1992, when the old Safeway and True Value Hardware and Warhorse were the reason that you came into town on the weekend. So I've been able to watch how hard this commission has worked over time to very carefully and thoughtfully plan the growth of this town so that all of us within it are able to be very proud to say that we live in Parker. And it really is, no surprise to anyone here, a premier place in Colorado that people want to come live. They want to live here, they want to school their kids here, and they want to work here. So first, I thank you for all the work that you've done in over longer, 25, 30 years in creating the situation that we have now. I also want to recognize that my understanding is that the company that has proposed this build has done everything to a T. They have done everything that you've needed in a very good manner, and want to recognize that. It makes this decision difficult. What I also recognize is that the zoning, the original zoning of that land, was done at a time when it was far away from where Parker was growing from. And certainly the way that that land has been allowed to develop does not reflect what that zoning is at this point. And I believe it will create all the problems and more that have been mentioned, and certainly support all the businesses in the area there. So mainly what I offer is that being here for so long, working at the school, having students like Cameron need to look at the feel, the culture that has been developed under your care and thoughtfulness, stands to have a bit of a chink out of it if we are not sensitive to every decision that is made here. And I thank you for the hard work that you've done over time and that you're doing now, and appreciate the process that lets us come and talk to you about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Lori White, and while I'm here, well, let me tell you my address. It's 15744 Cristallo Drive. I'm a resident, and I'm here. I'm a resident of Stonegate Village Metropolitan District. I'm here to talk to you about my personal feelings about this. I also happen to be a member of the board of directors for the district, and so I do appreciate all the work that I know that you all put into being on this commission. But I do want to say that I live in the area of Stonegate that is adjacent to Chambers, and I also commute to an office building for a medical technology company that's located in the Centennial Airport property. So this directly affects both my living space with regard to any traffic that may occur as a result of the trucks that would be traveling along Chambers, as well as my daily commute on a daily basis. So I wanted to share my support for the rezoning of this area, for the eventual hopeful annexation of this area into Parker, and that's pretty much it. I just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Can we have anybody from the middle section before we start our next speaker? Kind of have them lined up and ready over here. No, not taking any time away. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Cassius Kellogg. I live at 8510 Canyon Rim Trail, Unit Number 1. I am a member of the board at Canyon Creek Condominium, so my voice is representing more than just myself. It's also the entire community. I just want to say that although the facility is supposed to be state-of-the-art, the trash trucks themselves are not, unless they plan to have all brand new trash trucks. So the volume of trash trucks that are going to be driving has already been addressed, but those pieces of trash are not going to stay inside those trucks as they're passing by. It's going to pollute the community. One of the best aspects in my opinion, of where I live is the Happy Canyon Creek and the open space right behind the condominiums. And I walk my dog probably 4 times a day along that path. It's a beautiful open space. There's wildlife. We hear coyotes back there, which is kind of fun. There's also a great horned owl that we see every once in a while. So that's a very rare and amazing space for everyone to live. I think it's going to be tarnished if we have this type of facility go in. Those are my comments.
Thanks, sir. Next speaker.
Just leave that with you. Very short. Super short. My name is Tiffany Simonton. I reside at 8420 Canyon Rim Trail, Unit 304. I've been at that home. Actually, coming up here this month is going to be my 3-year anniversary. And primarily my concern seems to be the traffic as well. When we got that light in, I was incredibly thankful. However, with the increase of potential trash trucks coming in and taking that up, as well as towards the end of the working day, folks that are going from Chambers and heading up to Lincoln, that already is causing issues. There's already a great amount of traffic. I worry about the noise. I worry about the possible pollution. I worry about certainly the smells. I myself will leave my windows open on occasion to allow for an airflow, and I certainly do not want my place smelling like a bunch of guck. As well, there's a lot of opportunities that are growing in this community. And this is a community that I grew up in. I grew up just down the street and then moved into Cottonwood myself with my family. And now I would have never thought that in time, my first home that I would have purchased would have been just down the street from my high school. So I have a lot of time and love rooted into this community, and I would hate to see something like a trash transfer facility come in. As I stated, the traffic is hard enough, as well as the opportunities that companies like Charter offer. I myself am with Mark. I work for Viasat, and we are very close by. A lot of high-tech stuff, super smart people, the potential for other good businesses to move in, such as something like Red Bar, with the potentials that they would bring, somewhere around 4,000 plus jobs. That's too good of an opportunity to miss. Otherwise, I would like to also agree with the annexation proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Clint Adams, President and CEO, Rocky Vista University, 8401 South Chambers. I stand in full support of annexation of the property into the town of Parker. The town of Parker has done a remarkable job understanding and controlling growth to the mutual benefit of all of its citizens, industries, and community services. The university continues to grow in prominence, hosting the second medical school in Colorado, a Master's of Biomedical Sciences, a physician assistant program, a medical clinic, and an enrollment of almost 1,000 students. As president, I'm responsible for the students' and patients' safety, health, and welfare. The university is juxtaposed in what has grown to be a high-end scientific, technological-based business park. The scientific and technological neighbors who you've heard also include an elementary charter school, a proposed charter high school, many of the family housing, an airport, and our view is has adjacent property that there's anticipation of building a healthcare facility with significant community services. In 1739, Benjamin Franklin and neighbors petitioned the Pennsylvania Assembly to stop waste dumping and remove tanneries from Philadelphia's commercial district. Foul smells, lower property values, disease, and interference with firefighting are cited. Franklin argues for public rights. Franklin began to turn the tide. My hope is that tonight we too will begin to turn the tide and stop an outlandish proposal that is being seriously considered from Douglas County. The business park adjacent to the land we speak of next to Compact is called Dove Valley. And without our action, my fear is it'll become known as Buzzard Valley. The audacity to think that it's okay to situate a trash transfer facility in the middle of a high-tech medical and educational corridor is beyond my wildest dreams. The anticipated intolerable volume of heavy trucking with secondary vibrations to our scientific equipment, risk of accidents, smell, vermins, all of which threaten our health, safety, and quality of life. We can't tolerate the risk of crashing airplanes into these homes with children. The university interviews 1,000 future healthcare professional students annually who evaluate our university on first impression. Can you imagine what that impression looks like in the future world a trash transfer facility creates? Please understand that we believe reasonable, trusted politicians and public servants have the innate capacity to do the right thing and to create a Buzzard Valley waste park out of Dove Valley is not in the public interest. Please support this plan for annexation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Terry Malik. I live at 15314 Grasslands Drive. Just moved here almost 3 years ago from the Littleton Chatfield area, and I'm loving it. I hate how we've all gotten to know each other, but I have never known so many neighbors and such a passionate group of people who deeply care about their community. So I'd like to thank you, commissioners, for your public service. I know it can be a thankless job what you guys do, and there's a lot of work involved, and you all have other jobs besides this, so thank you for what you do. I also want to thank staff for your comments and your excellent representation, and just the town of Parker for being outstanding and representing. It's a beautiful community. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. As a citizen who loves her community, I also would like to recommend that you send a positive referral to the town council for this zoning. I know that you're not voting or making a decision on the annexation, but we all know really that the reason that we're all here and motivated to try to get this rezoning done is that trash transfer facility and the potential that other poor zoning decisions could be made and a jail could go in there. There's some other heavier or general industrial uses that just really don't belong there anymore. It used to belong there in 1998 and even 2002, perhaps, before all the development has been put into place, but it no longer fits. It's a beautiful business, tech, educational, and residential corridor now, and I don't know if have driven it in a while, but you might want to. And that was one of the issues I had with Douglas County when they first took in this application, which I think was the first mistake they made. They never should have entertained this application. We have an agreement between the town of Parker and Douglas County that we're going to talk on overlay district in areas in the fringe where development affects us both. And they just didn't talk with Parker about it, and it's affecting adversely a lot of people in the area. And and their response to that, when we got upset, when the town of Parker got upset by it and stood up for its people, they're going to terminate that agreement. So now we know that Douglas County is not going to care about the town of Parker people, and so town of Parker gets to. So I'm so grateful that the business area owners have pushed for this annexation and that the staff is supporting it. So I thank you and ask for your support as well.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Mitch Malik. I live at 15314 Grasslands Drive. I actually got kind of thrown into the leadership of the fight against the trash transfer facility, and while that's a major concern, I really want to thank all the applicants and the council and the staff for pointing out that even if the trash transfer pulled out, the zoning would still allow other uses that are not appropriate for the area. So I think it's critical that we change that, and their application eliminates things like correctional facilities and that type of thing. So that's really important to all of us in the area. We live in a small community. I mean, our town is not huge, but it's important that we make sure that it's growing in the right manner. And these technology companies and all these people that have invested their money into those buildings need they want our support to make sure that they stay appropriate too. So I really want to thank the applicants for taking this step. It's really important, and it shows a lot that you care about our community as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Tom Wozniak. I live at 15315 Grasslands. If you look at the map and look directly west of the trash transfer facility, that is our community. How many storms blow in from the west? The winds, I count the days of how many times the wind is blowing from that direction where that trash transfer facility would be, and it's almost 50% of the time. Also, our community is sloping down, so if there's a torrential rainstorm or whatever, everything comes down to our community from there. So if you've never been to our community directly west, I invite you, come see what we're fighting for. It's a small community, and I wanted to say thanks for everyone that's fighting for this, and thanks to the commissioners for considering the annexation. And please come see our community and see what we're fighting for. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Next.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Tom Toll, the Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of the College of Osteopathic Medicine. I'm also a resident of Parker, but I also work at 8401 South Chambers, the medical school. I also have, besides this hat, 30 years of experience as the county health officer at Moffat County, Colorado, and I adjudicated a lot of these things. And immediately, when I found out about that, I became concerned by the fact that the county and Parker itself uses groundwater and and runoff water into the Reuter Hess reservoir. And realizing that the trash transfer facility was there, I became immediately concerned, not necessarily as concerned as Charter did about their fiber optic, but I became concerned about the 700 sensitive brains that exist in my institution. And that's important because we train more physicians for the military. We actually, have some of the top, scores in the nation as far as our university goes. So to me, this is not a matter of aesthetics in a neighborhood or aesthetics, and property values. This becomes a matter of health in my mind as we go ahead and do that. And we know that there will be a lot of inadvertent spills and accidental transfers that that happen on the way to and from that, going over Happy Canyon Creek, which I've seen all the blue pipes go in, and I know that's going right back up to our water facility. So that's probably my main concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Tracy Burlingame, and I live at 16046 Brookline Court in the Dove Ridge subdivision. We have been residents of Dove Ridge since it was originally built. That's been about 16 or 17 years ago. When we moved out there, there was nothing else out there. I don't think anybody at that time, us included obviously, could have imagined the explosive growth of this whole area. And at the time, what the zoning was to the west of us was probably appropriate and adequate. Based on what has been happening in the last 10 years, it no longer is. And for all of the reasons that the people ahead of me have stated, public health issues, noise issues, traffic issues, which is the huge one to me. We already have traffic problems there, especially during rush hour. And quite honestly, our property values. We have a significant investment in our homes. We're not wealthy people. Our homes is what we have. And if this comes in, it's going to significantly diminish our investment as well as the businesses that are around us. So I fully support the annexation, and I thank you very much for your interest and effort on this matter.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Rich Russo. I reside at 8489 Canyon Rim Circle, Unit 301. I support the annexation 100% because I've been a resident in this community since 1996. And just a summary, that this will enable the city to ensure that outward expansion is developed in an orderly manner and what's in the interest for the town, the businesses, the future businesses, and its community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Laura Wise, and I live at 8467 Canyon Rim Circle, Unit 208. We've lived there for approximately 9 years, although we just became homeowners in February. It was kind of weird buying without moving, but I've raised my children in this area. My youngest son is 10, and where this proposed trash facility is going is where we frequently take our walks, and we learn just all kinds of different things. And I just can't imagine taking a walk with a trash truck. So it does not sound like fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Jonathan Wise. I live at 8467 Canyon Rim Circle. I was my wife. Yeah, we moved there 9 years ago, and it seems like they can't throw houses up fast enough in this area. And I am very concerned that if a trash transfer facility goes into that area, or a prison, or whatever use was intended by Douglas County eons ago, just doesn't have a place in that community anymore. The development there just grinds to a halt. When we moved in there are 2 whole neighborhoods worth of houses that weren't there when we moved in. What happens to this area when we put in smelly garbage, when we put in prisons in nearby residential areas, nearby where people want to work? So I fully support all of the applicants so far and what they've presented. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, my name is June Turner, and I live at 8291 Dove Ridge Way. I live in the Dove Ridge area, and I was one of the original homeowners there, so I've been there since about 2000. I moved over from Quincy and Kipling, which has a prison facility over in that area. And so I did raise my children going to Bear Creek High School and over there and going down that road. So even when looking at the annex of what's proposing to go in or what could go in, I have seen now we have more houses going to the south of us and more houses going to the north of us on Jordan. And then, so I really ask for that you give a positive for this, because I have moved from an area that had some of those facilities in the area. And so I do see how it affects the housing prices and the children and the families around there. Plus living in Dove Ridge between Chambers and Jordan, we've already had problems with people cutting through Dove Ridge going to Jordan. And if you bring in all of that extra from the facility, there's going to be more cutting through their homes than they are now. So thank you.
Thank you. Can we have just right quick, anybody that's left in this section that wishes to speak kind of line up over here as well? Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Josh Bradford. I live in 7550 South Blackhawk Street, apartment 7108 in Englewood, and I go to school at Rocky Vista University. So I live nearby and I go to school nearby where the proposed transfer facility is proposed. So the city of Parker took a chance on Rocky Vista University. At the time it was a new school and nobody knew kind of what the reputation would entail. Since that point, it has grown to be one of the #1 DO schools in the nation. They lead in board scores, in residency matches, and that is one big incentive for students that are applying to the school. Another incentive, and part of the reason that I believe people choose Rocky Vista, is the beautiful area. And I believe that the trash transfer facility will negatively impact that view. I am a student ambassador at Rocky Vista, so I take these interviewing applicants around tours and answer their questions as a student. And they have a lot of questions about the school, but they also have a lot of questions about the area. They want to know what it's like. They want to know the feel. They want to know, nearby stores and where people live. A lot of students choose to live by the school. And although we have an incredible reputation, I believe that if this trash transfer facility goes in, it would severely negatively impact the reputation or the potential future of the reputation of the school by decreasing the students that may choose to go to the school and therefore kind of decrease the overall quality. Also, I am married. I've been married for 4 years, and when we chose Rocky Vista, we wanted an area where we could start a family. We don't have any kids yet, and that is something that we strongly considered. So the increase in pollution and spills would have factored into our decision going to Rocky Vista. So I strongly support the annexation of this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Hello, my name is Leva Gorgi. I live in 1730 Shea Center Drive in Highlands Ranch, but I attend Rocky Vista University. I'm a second-year student there. I'd like to begin by telling a small story. When I was in 3rd grade, I had the most compassionate teacher, and she made such an impactful she made such a large impact on my life that at every milestone I meet, I contact her and thank her for her impact. At Rocky Vista University, every faculty member is that teacher because compassion is woven into the fabric of our family, our Rocky Vista family. And to mirror what my classmates said regarding the reputation of Rocky Vista, board scores is what attracted me here. I'm originally from Arizona. When I received my acceptance to this institution, I canceled all of my other interviews because board scores is such a large determining factor. Rocky Vista provides residents that remain in state, quite a few of them, general surgery, internal medicine, a very broad spectrum. And I think it would be a very large disservice to the future health care system of Colorado if students are repelled from the institution due to external factors and they don't get the opportunity to experience the compassion that exists with our faculty members and with our teachers, in addition to the rigor, the academic rigor that exists. So to mirror everyone else's statements, I do fully support the annexation as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Craig Davis, 15871 Butterworth Circle, Dove Ridge neighborhood. I know we talked a lot about the amount of traffic and the schools in the area, and I know we highlighted the charter schools, but we also have other Douglas County schools in the area. Chaparral High School, very large, growing high school. Our neighborhood is literally a cut-through traffic. We've done traffic studies in the neighborhood, Douglas County has, and there's peak morning hours, people going south on Chambers Road is about 800 cars leaving our neighborhood today. And that was probably 2 to 3 year old study, or even longer than that. So there's a lot of volume, a lot of kids coming out there. I got 2 kids that go to the high school. In the morning myself, I commute to DIA to fly out for business. There's a lot of times where it takes me 3 to 5 minutes to go to 470 to get out of my neighborhood. So just concerned with the other areas too with the traffic volume. Appreciate everybody's comments and agree with everything that's going on here tonight. Thank you,
sir. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Hayes, and we own a property at 15825 Club Rush Court. And I do agree with everything everyone else has said in support of the annexation. I owned a real estate company for over 20 years. And we bought this property a year and a half ago, and if we would have known that the trash transfer center was coming in, we would have not bought it. I agree with everyone here with my professional opinion that it will definitely affect the property values and of residents and of businesses too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shayna Shinjek. I live at 15470 Canyon Rim Drive, Unit 101. And in the interest of time, I'd just like to say that I strongly support all the previous comments and support the annexation and rezoning of the proposed property. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sabrina Fitzgerald Ruiz, and I live at 8391 Feathergrass Court in the Dove Ridge community. I agree with what has been said before me as far as the zoning. We've lived here 12 years. We've raised our family here. Our daughter goes to Chaparral High School. The traffic through the area has already grown so much. If this facility is put in here, it is going to make it impossible. There's not enough lights already. We can't even cross Chambers to use the trails anymore because you're afraid of being hit. There's been road rage already on Chambers. It is a nightmare. Not to mention through our neighborhood and through even the turnabouts. You can't cross the street with your kids half the time because traffic just goes so fast, and it's not usually the people that live there, it's the people cutting through from Chambers or to Jordan. Our daughter also goes to Chaparral High School, and she's going to be getting her license soon, and she's going to be going to Rocky Vista to pre-med. They have a program through SHAP. She's going to be driving soon, and that's really going to make an impact on us as far as her driving on that Chambers Road with those traffic trucks. And also the facility that's there is possible a prison. If she has to walk in between getting there, that's not something that we're really going to be looking forward to. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be brief. Last one. My name is Normandy Fallon, and I live at 15460 Canyon Gulch Lane, in the condominiums right on the street. The only reason I'm getting up is I support everything everybody has said. I really thank you for taking the time and listening, but my concern is also the traffic. Yesterday, I'm retired, so I got time. Yesterday, I counted 400 semis that went by my living room. 400 in a day. And my window is 25 feet from Chambers. So every time I look out a window, I'm seeing semis. But it's not just seeing them, which I knew there would be development. It's the noise, the shifting gears, not to mention the red hots in the evenings that go by with loud noises. It's just, if there's 400 trucks a day and it's making me crazy, 2,500 more trucks will push me over the edge. I'll just sell, at a loss, of course, because our property values will be shot. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, seeing no further comment, we will close the public comment. Paul, Stacy, any comments from you based on the comments we've heard?
We'd be happy to answer any additional questions commission may have, but there's no additional comments at this time.
Questions for staff?
Paul, could you pull up the list of things that are going to be excluded from the zoning? Thank you.
Further questions? No? Then we will close the public hearing at 8:31, and we will have planning commissioner discussion.
This particular zoning hearing, I first of all would like to thank everyone who came out to speak tonight. We thank you for your opinions. We respect what you have to say. We also are very respectful of the applicants and their position. In regard to the zoning, it does meet the 9 criteria that have been set forth by staff and is consistent with the town master plan. I will be therefore supporting the zoning system to forward on the town council.
I also would like to thank everyone who came out. When you get a crowd like this, you're not quite sure what's going to happen. So grateful that you guys are happy tonight. for many reasons, and that is that I'm also a resident of Parker. I hear and feel what you're saying, and I think the most important thing is that I would agree that there's a time and a place, and we don't need a Buzzard Valley. We need more Dove Valley. So I'm in favor and will vote in favor of it.
Looking at the proposal, I agree it meets all of the criteria required. The need exists. There has been a major change in how the property's been in the surrounding area has been developed over what was initially considered when it was put out. I would also point out that there has been absolutely no negative comments. There have been no negative testimony or exhibits or anything giving us any reason not to vote for this. I know that there are some folks that are being zoned without their voluntary consent, and they chose not to get up and speak, so I don't know what their reasons might be, and I have none of that evidence in front of me, so I will be supporting the zoning change.
I struggle with zoning, and I struggle with private property rights. The trash transfer facility folks have the right to do what they want to do on that property currently. However, I agree with Ruth Ann that they're not available to ask any questions. We all have our opinions on what other people's properties should be used for, but if your property rights were taken away, you might think differently. My big thing is I do think it's a safety issue for all the pilots in the room. Hitting a bird is no easy feat to come out of. We're all inconvenienced for many reasons, and growth in an area and additional businesses always bring in jobs and traffic. However, because I agree with Ruth Ann, there's absolutely not a negative comment coming in, and the homeowners need to take a look where they buy homes and what's next to them. But because of the, I'm going to say for Vista South not to show up, it appears that either they don't care or they are working a different avenue through Douglas County. So I will support this rezone.
I have nothing to add. I concur with everybody else.
Okay. I again want to thank the people that came out and gave up your evening tonight. And the respectful way you both addressed the applicants and just the way you handled yourself and comported yourself. So it kind of makes you proud to live in the town when you've got people like this that are able to express their thoughts and clearly and succinctly. And certainly I can see from the businesses that are there and the potential growth of similar kinds of businesses and medical facilities, that's something we want in the town of Parker. And so I will be in support of it as well. Do we have a motion?
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the zoning.
I second.
It's been moved by John, seconded by Ileana, that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve this zoning. Signify by yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Staff items?
Yes, sir, there is one item.
Okay.
Just as a reminder, at your April 26th meeting, in advance of it, there'll be a study session to discuss the My Main Street project.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, and I'm sorry, Rosemary has one more item. I'm sorry. And also in that study session, there'll be a discussion of proposed parking standard changes for downtown.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Mr. Rogers, anything?
I have nothing to add, sir.
All right, thank you. Then we will adjourn at 8:37. Thank you all.